How's everybody doing today? As you can see, it is very, very windy out here on the east coast of the good old USA, but you know, it is sunny. Temperature is actually 54 degrees, which is not bad for this time of the year. First day of March. Spring is 19 days away. 19 days away. It just so happens that the first day of spring is my birthday, March the 20th. 19 more days, absolutely. Our friend I Know Buddy over there on the X platform says dancing trees. Fine, thank you. I'm glad everybody is fine. So I've got my... Make sure you watch the rugby league in Las Vegas later. Come on, the Warrington Wolves, absolutely. 27th February was my birthday, so you're a Pisces as well. So I have my good glasses back, my computer glasses. No reflection like there was. It only took about 2 weeks. What a fiasco that was. Your birthday's March the 11th, another Pisces. We got a lot of Pisces watching today. Yeah, my birthday's the first day of spring, 9 out of 10 years. Once in a while, I think it has to do with leap year, spring arrives like right before midnight on the 19th, going into the 20th. Normally, spring arrives on the 20th most of the years, including this year. So the first day of spring is when I was born. It is my birthday. So that's looking forward to that coming up. I'm looking forward to spring. This has been a little bit of a rough winter. I wasn't feeling that good during December physically and stuff, so a little bit of a rough start to the end of the year. But I'm doing fine now. Looking to do a couple of things this spring. So here is one of the things I wanted to talk about. Well, let me just pull this up. I don't know, whoever of you use, this is great. The operation cannot be completed. No other information is available at that time, of course. So LumaFusion just came out with version 5.2. And it has 12 tracks of video, and 12 tracks of audio. Now, those of you who use Final Cut iPad, how many tracks do you have? Do you have 12 and 12? Well, let's look it up. I don't think so. I do not think so. There we go. Another thumbs up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Tell me, whoever's used Final Cut on iPad, how many tracks there are. LumaFusion has 12 tracks of video and 12 tracks of audio. Now, you have to have a qualified iPad to get that big of a count, I'm sure. Fantastic. There we go. Just adjusting that down. So I've been adjusting a few things in my studio. I have a new overhead light that I really like that has temperature controls and, of course, brightness. I think there's 3 or 4 different temperature controls and then brightness, and I can adjust it with the adjuster. Now, it also it's switched. It's actually electric. It's not battery operated. So it actually is electric. So when I turn the light on, it whatever the last setting was, it remembers it. So how many tracks? Track count. That's weird. That's interesting. Let me pull this up. I'm going to put it on Perplexity. Let's go over to Perplexity and see what they say. Where is Perplexity? I have it in my... I will just type it in. Perplexity.ai is what I usually use for my AI searches. Answer. They're saying it's not directly relatable because it doesn't use tracks, uses lanes. Well, how many lanes? Let's see this. It doesn't say because it doesn't equate tracks with lanes. But I'm sure there's a limit. Anyway, good old LumaFusion 5.2. They can do 12 tracks of video and 12 tracks of audio at this point. 5.2, it just came out. So the regulars who come here, Final Cut TV and Coffee, this is our third year. We just started our third year. This is the episode year 3. Can you believe we've been doing this for 3 years already? That's incredible. This is easier to do than a produced show since it's live. I just come on, get everything ready. So that's 2, 5, 1 audio tracks. I don't know how that works. I guess. I don't know. One of the things, so I have my documentaries being shown tomorrow in Greenbelt. And Greenbelt, Maryland, the Greenbelt Theater, my documentary is being shown tomorrow at 3 p.m. And I've been working with that for the last couple of months. When I made a DCP, one of the things that I learned was even though the ProRes file was stereo, that you're supposed to set it at 5.1 when you're making a DCP. For some reason, the stereo didn't work. You had to do it 6 tracks, 5.1 setting, and then they would sort out, they would still only play stereo tracks. Our friend Jeff, haven't been on in a while, but working on our documentary, just finishing up this weekend, then premiering it on the USS Midway in San Diego in March. Congratulations, Jeff. Congratulations. Happy anniversary and congratulations. Thank you very much. That's very, very kind of you. So once again, there's not much in the way of Final Cut Pro. The only thing that's coming up, I mean, sometimes Apple does a spring event, but I think they've already done their Pro hardware. The only thing they could be doing is the Mac Studio. They could update that to the M4 or M5, whatever the heck it is. And you're welcome. And there's going to be an Apple Spring event? I have no idea. No idea. Congrats on your documentary. Very, very cool. We have let me see here. Yeah, so it's being shown. This is the third time we've shown it. We haven't put it online, and we haven't done any distribution of it yet. We wanted to put it in theaters first. So this is the third theater showing. The first two were at the AFI, American Film Institute, Silver Theater in Silver Spring, the first two showings. This one is at the Greenbelt Theater in Greenbelt, Maryland. It starts 3 o'clock, I think, and it's 2 hours and 45 minutes with a 16-minute intermission included in that 2:45. So it's about 2.5 hours. So we do about an hour and 15 minutes. We do a 16-minute intermission, and then with music, we have music turned down low, and then we continue on with part two after the 16 minutes. People get a chance to get up, stretch their legs, use the bathroom if they so desire. So making a DCP was certainly interesting this time. It certainly was interesting. The theater required a DCP file, but they did the actual transfer from our flash drive of that DCP file to their system. They did the transfer. From what I understand, that transfer is the tricky process. That is the tricky process. Very windy out there. It wasn't windy this morning. I went on a 2-mile walk this morning. And you can see somebody down here in the garden doing some little bit of cleanup. It's real warm, though. It's like 54 degrees. So it's not cold per se, although it's supposed to get cold tonight. From what I understand, it's supposed to get very cold tonight, down into the teens. So we have our fireplace ready to go with plenty of wood and stuff. We have wood for leftover from the winter. Last week, I tried to get more into Phonica Pro audio mixing with compound clip, but the performance is weak. For more advanced mixing, even my M3 Max, do you think they plan something great for audio? Yes, they absolutely have something great planned for audio. They've had it for years. They have an audio mixer. I don't know what they're going to call it. They're going to call it a Rolls-based audio mixer. I don't know. But they've had an audio mixer that they've been working on for years. Now, when they release it, I don't know, but it's much more sophisticated than what we have now. Much more sophisticated. So Jeff says, are you going to NAB? I'm planning on it. I have my reservations for the hotel and airplane. So unless there's something, happens, I plan on being there at NAB this year. But we'll have to see. You can always cancel the hotel reservations, and you can cancel the airplane reservations. Fairly easily. It's pretty painless. I think 48 hours, 72 hours ahead of time, as long as you cancel it by that, it won't be an issue. As far as that's what happens. Daniel says DCP is about playback compatibility by their system. Right, but so making the DCP, I use DCP-O-Matic because everybody down here that does DCPs for the theaters, that's what they were using, so I figured I wouldn't rock the boat. I did try one in DaVinci Resolve. It was much, much faster. Didn't like the way it looked. It was blocky and the blacks weren't right. It's something that I did, I know. I didn't have time to really investigate it. And so DaVinci Resolve Studio was much faster. This one it's about real time. So 2 hours and 40-minute movie took about 2 hours and 40 minutes to do with DCP-O-Matic. Another thumbs up, thank you very much. And it looks good, but there's another step besides making the DCP package. There's another step. you have to transfer the DCP to a compatible hard drive. That requires another piece of software, from what I understand, and that's the tricky part, that transfer of the DCP file to a hard drive that'll play back on their system. I didn't have to deal with that. All I had to do was make the DCP file, and we delivered it to the theater. They took care of the transfer to whatever system they have, and my co-producer, Jeff Krulik, went down and watched it on Friday, tested it and everything, so everything's looking good for tomorrow. So like I said, 3 o'clock at the Greenbelt Theater, and this is our third showing of the video in a theater. We really enjoy the theater, as you can imagine. The DCP, I'm going to learn more about the DCP process in DaVinci Resolve. DCP-O-Matic works really, really well, but it's not as sophisticated or as fast as DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve was much faster, but it's got a lot more buttons and a lot more settings you got to pay attention to. I didn't have time to do that this time, so I use DCP-O-Matic, and it works fine. We also have Blu-rays made up in case there's an issue, but there shouldn't be an issue. I know, buddy, I've been attempting bilingual videos on YouTube. I can't get Final Cut Pro Compressor to generate multiple audio tracks tagged with the language IDs in a MOV file. Both languages play simultaneously in QuickTime Player. You have to do something in Final Cut. I think you got to export. Yeah, I don't know how that works. I haven't done bilingual, but I thought you had to. Do you have to export 2 different ones? I don't know how that works. You have to look that up, but I thought that was done in Final Cut. But I'm not sure. I am not sure. So, look at that wind. It's not as windy right now. It's not as windy right now. DCP is about DCP, if it's mandatory for showing in movie theaters. That explained why many videographers go directly to internet for distribution. It's not that bad. And if you want to show yourself in a theater, I think they all require DCP packages because their playback system is set up for the DCP package. What the package is, I don't know. It's a bunch of files in a folder. You got to give it to them. You can't change anything. If you change anything, it won't work. All that stuff. I can export in separate files, but nothing combines them in a MOV file. So there's some way to, I don't know. You have to do a little research and see how that works. I don't know. There's some way to choose a language, but I don't know. Between Final Cut and Compressor, I don't know which direction to go. So we're getting ready for spring here on the good old East Coast. You go to USA. 1 month, 5 weeks. Was the DCP hard to make and resolve? It wasn't hard to make, but resolve is very complex. And there's a lot of settings in the color space and all that stuff. It's all important to get right, or the DCP won't come out right. DCP-O-Matic is a free, unless you want to leave a donation, which I'm going to do because I used it for this project. It's very, very cool, but it's a lot simpler. So DaVinci Resolve is much faster, probably 4 times faster than DCP-O-Matic, but that's not really that an issue. I just put it up and let it go. I don't have to worry about it. 2.5 hours is 2.5 hours. I can do other things while it's making the DCP file. And that's always good. Anyway, it's now that I've done it, I didn't do the transfer to a hard drive that they can play it back on. Apparently that's another issue. You got to get stuff to format the file. You got to get stuff to format the drive properly, and the transfer is some kind of an issue with that. You need special software for that. Didn't have to do that. Number one, the AFI, the American Film Institute Silver, they do everything. All we do is deliver a ProRes file to them, and they do everything. I don't have to make a DCP package for the AFI Silver. The Greenbelt Theater required us to make a DCP package, so I learned about it. Now, I'd made it, but they did the transfer, so it was a non-issue for us because I didn't want to worry about doing all that stuff. So I guess there's going to be another Final Cut Pro-less NAB this year. I don't see any activity on about Final Cut Pro anywhere with my sources. I mean, the Final Cut Pro team, the Pro Apps team, does go to NAB incognito or just not public facing. They meet up with plugin developers and software developers and hardware developers in closed meetings. But I haven't seen anything about any Final Cut Pro events, even the third party hosting one. So maybe we'll see something in March. I wouldn't bet on it. The last two ones have been pretty boring as far as any Final Cut Pro news. But, you know, Apple could slip out. The team could slip out a feature update between now and the end of now and the beginning of April when NAB happens. It's always, always, always. I tried to load up QuickTime Player 7 on an older Mac and see if that works, but I expect Compressor to be able to do it. You have to do a little research. You have to do a little research about that. Here's my friend Sebastian, who was we went back and forth. You can learn all the basics about DCPs in Resolve Studio and other tools. And my free ebook, Sebastian Leitner.com. I also have video courses going into all details within 6 hours. This guy's a guru for DCP creation. This is the guy right here. He knows all about it. We did a lot of exchange back and forth. Time to make a joke on your phone. Ring Tim Cook. Say he would come back with Final Cut Pro at NAB with Final Cut Pro team. They haven't done it the last 2 years. My bet would be that they're not going to do anything. That the Final Cut Pro team is not going to do anything in NAB, but yeah, whatever. I'm leaning towards going at this time, but that could change during the month of March. I have the whole month of March to change my mind. We'll see how that goes. I enjoy NAB. I enjoy it a lot. I would enjoy it a lot more if there was Final Cut Pro stuff happening. But I see my other friends, my friends from LumaFusion. Sometimes Roger Bolton is there from CoreMelt. Sometimes I see other people that have plugins that work for Final Cut Pro. So there is a Final Cut Pro community. As a matter of fact, I'm going to check. I don't think there's any Super Meet this year. There hasn't been any Super Meet for last two. Let me see what it says. Super Meet. Let's see what it says. They haven't had anything. See, it doesn't say. Here's what it says. I doubt if there's going to be any Super Meet. Here's what it says. Let's go look. Close that. It says, stay tuned for Super Meets in 2025. Nothing about Super Meet. See, it says, we are looking at holding a Super Meet events in 2025, but nothing about NAB Super Meet. So at this point, they would have to have it scheduled But imagine the state of shake at NAB. The state of shake. I'm not sure what you mean there, Daniel, state of shake. But anyway, I don't expect any news about Final Cut Pro, although they could do a feature update toward the end of March, beginning of April, and that will at least create a little bit of buzz. Now, the only person that is going to be, I don't know, let me just see if he's going to be, if that's going to be at NAB. Hold on a second. Well, that didn't work. Let's see if our friend Michael Cioni is going to be there. Let's see. Platform onboarding session. I don't see anything. Let's look. This is Michael's strata.tech support onboarding session. Let's see if he mentions anything about NAB. He had a real nice, there's Michael there. He had a real nice party on Saturday night last time. Of course, we care about Final Cut Pro. On Saturday, let's see if there's anything. Google, built for professionals, multicam playback, projects, revolutionize your workflow. Let's see if he has. Let's go over here and see what's going on. Maybe he has something. I don't know if he's going to be at NAB. I don't know. Let's see if there's anything. Strata support. I imagine he's going to be there. But I don't see anything about that. FMC at NAB, and they can demo something with Apple approval. They're not going to debut anything. I guess they could. No, FMC is absolutely going to be there. They're the biggest vendor besides Blackmagic at NAB. And they have a few Final Cut sessions, a couple, but most of their sessions are Premiere based on what the users want, and some of them Blackmagic. Jeff says, I've been using Strata, and I really like where it's going. Very, very cool. I also noticed that captions don't appear when embedded in a compound clip. They seem to have to be on the playing project. Well, that's interesting. I believe he said he would be at NAB. Yeah, he's been to every NAB for years. So whether he's there by himself or whether it's probably with Strata. So last year, he had a very, very cool event on Saturday night that I went to. I walked from my hotel, went there, and it was at a bar that had darts, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they had dart boards in one of the rooms. Of course, you had to sign up for it. I think it's free if you sign up in advance, and then he has a limit of how many people can be there. But what happens typically at NABs, I have all these plans. And I get there and you're walking and everything's out of sync with your normal system and everything. And you get tired. You absolutely get tired. Here's my Twin Peaks friend, Charlotte Nightstar, the werewolf. Happy Saturday to you, Charlotte. Happy Saturday to you. Yeah, so NAB, I'm looking forward to it. And they start on Sunday now. They used to start on Monday morning. Now they start on Sunday morning. So Sunday morning, I'll be heading over to Black Magic, absolutely, first thing, because that is the biggest spread of all of NAB, the gigantic spread. Black Magic is absolutely the biggest one. But I'll head over there probably Sunday morning and visit some friends, visit some sponsors. If I have sponsors that are going to be available on Sunday, I'll go up there and talk to some of the sponsors that I'm working with. It's still pretty windy out there. We don't have any leaves on the trees yet, but you can see the sky is blue. These are oak trees. Above my head are oak trees. Most of them are. And there's no leaves yet, usually in April. Because I remember last year I went to NAB. When I came back, I was on the top floor of the parking structure at the airport, and my car was covered with pollen. So April, I think, is when we're going to start seeing pollen coming around. I expect that to be exactly the same as this year. So has anybody heard anything Final Cut Pro news-wise? Let me check on over there on the X platform. Let me see what's going on there. To the search, FCPX is still the hashtag for Final Cut Pro. It's well embedded, even though it's Final Cut Pro 11. FCP 11 and FCPX. Very nice, very lovely yard. Thank you very much. I got an acre and a half. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. The older I get, the less I enjoy it. Can you tell us about DaVinci Resolve versus Media Composer booth size, and do Avid shrink in the past years? There's no comparison between DaVinci Resolve, Blackmagic, and Avid. Avid is a moderately sized booth, but DaVinci Resolve is the biggest booth at NAB. Blackmagic, it's not just DaVinci Resolve. They have cameras. They have lenses. They have switchers. They have gigantic mixing boards. So what's DaVinci Resolve's up to 19? They'll probably have DaVinci Resolve 20 beta, is what they typically do at NAB. DaVinci Resolve beta 20 probably. So that's what I expect at NAB this year, which would not be unusual. Usually they go with the beta version for a few months and then they have the regular version out. So I would expect DaVinci Resolve 20, or it could be 19.5. I don't know what we're up to. I don't know if we're up to 19.5 or not. They could release 19.5 and still show us a beta of 20, whatever that is. So, yeah, the DaVinci Resolve, Blackmagic is the biggest booth by far. Avid is more, I would say, medium to small. It's just a couple of guys demoing stuff. But you have to realize Avid, it's kind of taken over. I mean, not taken over. It's kind of been embedded in Hollywood for years, right? But they don't even have 100,000 seats, as far as I know. They have tens of thousands. So numbers-wise, they don't have that many, but they're still, they got a hold in Hollywood because they're so embedded. But didn't Avid just sell to some other company? Sell the business to some other company? I thought they did. Well, let's look it up. We got the internet. Yeah. It sold in 2023. Private equity firm STG completes acquisition of Avid for $1.4 billion. Now, I would say at this point, so Avid is operated as a privately held company and remain headquartered in Burlington, Massachusetts. Now, I would say Pro Tools is probably pretty darn important with that acquisition. I would say Pro Tools is pretty darn important with that acquisition. So, because that's Pro Tools is in most major studios everywhere. Luke, hello to the entire Final Cut Pro community, and happy Saturday, Richard. Luke, I met Luke at the Creative Summit last year, Luke and his son. His beard is a little bit whiter. It's more like mine. When I first met him, I didn't recognize him because in that picture, his icon is a darker shade. Let me see what's going on. Oh, I got an ad. I'm going to say skip. There we go. Yeah, he introduced himself over there at the Creative Summit. I'm planning on going again this year. November, probably. November, probably. Now, we got 11.0.1, which we knew was coming. It just took almost 80-some days, 86, 87 days. And I certainly hope we have another feature update or two between now and when we see Final Cut Pro 11.1 in November at the Creative Summit. Probably. No guarantee, but probably. Pull my mic up there. So that would be fine. That would be fine. But I'm thinking that's, let me see, it's March, so it's 6, September, October, November. That's 7 months away, 8 months away. There is plenty of time to get a Final Cut Pro update with a feature or two. Do more with subtitles, transcribing audio. I mean, not subtitles, captions. Do more with that. That would be good. Check on the wind factor. Yeah, it's pretty windy. Pretty darn windy, absolutely. It's not, the temperature's not cold though. 53, so that's not bad. Now, if you've been following along these Final Cut TV and Coffee's last couple of weeks, you know about my glasses. And I had a reflection in this lens. It was driving me crazy. It was like the screen was all reflected back, but this lens was clear. And so I said, am I holding my glasses at the wrong angle to the screens? And I said, no, it's really weird. It's only in one lens. Well, they didn't put the anti-reflective coating on the one lens. When I took it back to the eyeglass place, they said, well, I can see, they can look and see it. There's no anti-reflective coating on the one lens. Very, very poor. I'm very disappointed in the lab. It wasn't the place that I go to. They're great. But the lab where they sent it out to, no. And I wrote to the company and told them. Haven't used an Avid product since PPC 601 days. An Avid video capture app was bundled with the Power Mac 7500 100. That's before I got involved with video editing, way before. I didn't get involved with video editing until like 1999, sometime around that. I had a desktop G3 Mac put together by ProMax out of California, and they bundled, one of the options was Premiere for the Mac, so I let them install it. I knew nothing about computers. at that point, and I let them install it, and I got the package, and it came to me, and it just worked. This is before Final Cut Pro was released. At some point, Premiere, which I started on, dropped support for the Macintosh. Adobe dropped support for the Macintosh for a year and a half, 2 years, because of the PowerPC thing versus going to Intel chips. That's when Final Cut Pro came out. That's when I got Final Cut Pro and never touched Premiere again after that. What would be your highest priority feature for Final Cut Pro in the next update? 2 things. Text-based editing with improvements to transcribing to captions and subtitles, and an audio-based roles mixer. Those are my top things that I want to see now. Text-based editing, fantastic feature. Apple's way late to the game. It's been out for like 3 years, 2 or 3 years this April, when everybody had it. Premiere had it, DaVinci Resolve had it. Avid has that, whatever that third-party stuff that they do is. And here we are 3 years later, and Final Cut Pro still doesn't have text-based editing. So that would be the one. And then, of course, the roles-based mixer, whatever they're going to do with that. Richard, since you use many plugins, can Final Cut Pro 11 and Logic 11 with plugins be made all in one solution option again? I don't think so. I don't think so. Logic is a music creation app. It's not a post-production audio app like Pro Tools is. Although I use it for some post-production, but it's really a music creation app. You could score with it and stuff, but in my experience, it's a one-way trip. If you go from Final Cut to Logic, you don't go from Logic back to Final Cut, not with XML. You can export a file from Logic and import that back into Final Cut, but you can't keep all your separate tracks and everything. That's not the way it's designed. Plus, it's mostly about music creation, scoring, and stuff like that. I use Logic for my podcasts, so I got a lot of plugins for Final Cut. I don't know how many I have, 1,500, maybe 1,600, something like that. I wish there was a way to load them up as I needed them rather than loading them up all at once when I launch Final Cut Pro. But that's just the way it is for right now. Here's what I think. I think we'll see an update to Final Cut Pro with a feature between now and June. So the first 6 months, I think we'll see an update to Final Cut Pro with a feature or two. It won't just be another bug fix. We could have another bug fix because I don't think they squashed all the bugs with 11.0.1. So we could see 11.0.2 with another bug fix, or they could do 11.0.2 as a bug fix plus a feature or two. I certainly expect a feature update to Final Cut Pro, two of those between now and November of next year, when we're going to see probably 11.1, Final Cut Pro 11.1. I have to talk to Peter Stenauer when I see him next, if he's there at the Creative Summit in November. Windy, a little bit windy out there. Luke says, what are your thoughts on color grading at the browser level? For our company, it would be a game changer. Well, you mean just select a clip and color grade it with scopes and everything, and have the color board or whatever you're using. That would be fine. That would be pretty darn cool. You could do them in advance, copy and paste. Here's an idea. Text-to-speech in Final Cut Pro with the ability to use multiple voices. I think DaVinci Resolve, you can identify voices. I think you have that option in DaVinci Resolve. and it does the best. Look, it's not 100%. But when you're doing long form documentary and stuff, it's a game changer. I can go through a text-based document much faster than I can playing back a video in real time or even 2 times real time. I can go through and say, I don't want this paragraph, just delete it. I don't want this paragraph. I don't want these subject matters because maybe they're out of date. Let's get rid of all those. So what you do is you select what you want, drop it into the timeline. Select a couple sentences, paragraphs that you want, drop them into the timeline. This is what you do in DaVinci Resolve. You can search the text for subject matter. You can search the text for somebody's name. So it's very, very, very effective. And I'm really surprised that Final Cut doesn't have it yet. I expect that'll be one of the big things, since they already got the transcription part down, whatever they're using. I expect that'll be one of the next big things. What do you want? What do you want to see as a big ticket item in an update to Final Cut Pro? The biggest update is probably going to be November. It'll be 11.1, and that'll have 4 or 5 or 6 major things. The new iPhone will be out in September, iPhone 17. I'll get the iPhone 17. They're already talking about video improvements in the new iPhone 17. So I have a 15 and a 16. When I go to get the 17, I'll trade in my 15 on the 17. So my plan right now is I have 2 of the latest iPhones for the 2 years. Next year, I'll trade in my 16 on the 18. Whatever. That's my plans. And I won't be bringing my Lumix S5 Mark IIX to NAB. It's too big. I don't want to be carrying that thing around. I'll have my 2 iPhones and my Action 5, my DJI Action 5, with my new Insta 360 Flow Pro 2 gimbal, which is really, really nice. It's a big improvement over the original one that I have. I don't even know if I even have it here. Do I have it here anywhere? That's the original one. Somewhere, oh, it's in the pouch. That's where it is, in the other room. So we do want to say congratulations, or we want to thank the Final Cut Pro team, Final Cut Pro team, for giving us Final Cut Pro 11 and 11.0.1. Now we're waiting on 11.0.2. Anytime you can get that out to us would be fantastic. The best thing about the Creative Summit, it's expensive. Yes, it's expensive. You got to pay for a hotel. You got to pay for transportation. Sometimes you have to take care of your pets back at the house. Somebody's got to watch them or whatever. It's a lot of planning. I don't expect to hear anything official from FMC until June or July. Now, I might hear something in advance, which I typically do. I hear from FMC because we're partner. I'm a social media partner with them. But I'm not going to tell you about it. I can't tell you about it until they make their actual public announcement. I've used text-to-speech to create dialogue with computer voices, but it can only do one voice at a time. Spanish with the occasional English pronunciation and proper names requires splicing audio. Good evening, Richard. I always wait for the 4th generation of phones, and I switch. The next one is version 18. Okay. Since this is my primary camera, this is what I shoot on mostly. I have 16 Pro Max, 15 Pro Max, and then a Lumix S5 Mark IIX full frame, great and low light. I have a 28 to 150 f2.8 constant aperture zoom lens on it now. A little bit heavy. I'm going to trade in most of my primes. I got a 24 that I'll keep, but I'm going to trade in the rest of them, or sell them, I mean. And I'm going to keep. I like the zoom lens, f2.8 constant prime. 28 to 150, I think it is. I think that's what it is. And I really, really like it. So, but this is my main camera. I shoot with 80% of this time. I'm shooting with this 85% of the time. So when there's a new one, I want to get the best. So I'll get the 17 Pro Max, whatever the heck it is, and I'll trade my 15 in. I like having two of these, and I have an Action 5 and I have the Lumix. Apple promoting more and more iPhones as the new camcorders for most videographers going from now. Yeah, they are. I mean, it is. It really is. It's completely changed. I used to carry a small, compact digital camera with me everywhere I went in my bag. When I worked at the National Archives, I'd travel, and I'd always have the camera. Now I don't have to. I just have my phone. Excellent quality. They need to solve basic issues first, such as more professional keyframe controls and the ability to apply easy in and out for the scale function. You're talking about Final Cut Pro on the Mac, I presume? I just don't disagree with that. Also, integrating import and export of clips between Final Cut Pro and Motion. Is that so difficult? Am I asking too much? No. No, you are not. That's completely reasonable requests. Completely reasonable requests. Absolutely. No, do I have that here anywhere? I don't think I do. Let me just check something. Nope, I don't have it. But no, those are completely reasonable requests. Absolutely. Their keyframe editor is sparse and not effective. Although I do like the ability to move keyframes in the timeline. When you expand it, Control V, you expand the keyframe thing in the timeline. I like that because I can grab keyframes and move them forward or backwards. But I really don't understand why keyframes take so long, why they do nothing about that. I'm not going to defend them about that. That's ridiculous. I agree with you. It's ridiculous that they haven't got keyframes more advanced after 13 years, 14 years, something like that. I mean, the motion keyframe editor is probably too much for most regular video editors, but I really enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it, the one in motion, that keyframe editor. It's very, very sophisticated, very advanced. I agree with you. All your points of things you want to see in Final Cut, I want to see them come to fruition for you in a new update to Final Cut. But I still think text-based editing and a roles-based mixture is up there at the top. I want the ability to color grade at the browser level. That's my top feature request, better color management. Okay. Tell us why you want to color grade at the browser level specifically, just because you don't want to put clips in the timeline. That's completely fine. All these are great ideas. All these are great ideas, and the Final Cut Pro team does watch this. They do watch this live stream. What else are they going to do? They're not doing anything else. Watch the live stream. Get ideas from us. I'm only joking, of course. I'm sure they're busy working on the next version of Final Cut. Some updates for us. So, yeah, the last Final Cut Pro Creative Summit is fantastic, November, but we have maybe a spring event from Apple with the Mac Studio, maybe. Then NAB is the first week of April. They could have an update around that because they've updated Final Cut around NAB before. We got ProRes RAW on NAB Monday. NAB Monday, we got ProRes RAW. Speaking of that, 2 Logic updates and a Final Cut Pro update on Mondays. The last 2 Logic Pro updates and 11.0.1 Final Cut Pro update were updated on a Monday. Monday is the new Tuesday. That's all that matters. Anyone who grew up with rotoscoping will appreciate the small new tools in Final Cut Pro. Yeah, that is pretty sophisticated, more sophisticated than I originally thought. In Final Cut Pro 11, we got that. So I've used it a few times. It's pretty simple. You can just drop it on somebody and it'll do the shape. It'll track forward, track backwards the best it can. If it gets out of line, you can go back and adjust it with the pen tool, minus and plus and stuff. So that's pretty darn neat. Pretty darn neat. Is anybody excited about NAB at all, besides me and a couple of other people? Usually I'll go there and settle into my hotel room, I like to have snacks when I come back to the hotel late at night, so I'll get some snacks and put them in there and some fruit and stuff, bananas and maybe an apple or two. And I'll get cream for coffee because I like to get up in the morning and have cream. And I'll be, like I did for the Creative Summit, I'll be broadcasting from the hotel room, letting you know any news that comes up. I'm not there to cover all the events at NAB. That's not what I'm there for. I'm there to do specific things. I mean, I like Panasonic cameras, so I'll check them out. Love DaVinci Resolve. They're the biggest, most exciting thing happening normally, so I hang out there a lot. Maybe we have a meetup or two. Last year, NAB, I got together for breakfast with Bradley Olson and his crew. We got together, went over to that place. I want this feature because it would allow me to change the color of a clip used in multiple projects at once without applying color adjustments in the timeline. Absolutely. NAB is usually the time where I regret being a Final Cut user because of the advancement of DaVinci. DaVinci is through the roof with advancements. If Final Cut wasn't here, I would absolutely be I'd use DaVinci Resolve and I'd use LumaFusion on the iPad. And that's all I would need. DaVinci Resolve is fantastic, fantastic application. So I got to talk to Grant Petty last year. I got to do a 5 or 6 minute interview with him at NAB, and I maybe look forward to that happening again this year. He's very, very friendly guy, and he's out on the floor. He's out on the Blackmagic floor. So I just started talking to him last year, and I'm holding up. Can I get a selfie? Can I get a selfie? He could, sure. And I held the camera up, but I shoot video. I don't take stills. And he could see it was running. I mean, it was right in front of us. So he sat there and we talked for like 5 or 6 minutes. So that was very, very cool. Look forward to maybe doing that again. NAB is big. I mean, Las Vegas is much bigger than it looks on a map. It's just very expansive, and you get very, very, you get tired walking, standing, walking. So had to be prepared for that. If the browser and the magnetic timeline editing would be the same or similar like Final Cut Pro, I would switch immediately. But right now, the editing itself is still king in Final Cut. I agree with that. I like editing in Final Cut Pro. The live skimmer, nobody has a live skimmer as good as Final Cuts. The magnetic timeline is really good, but I like turning it off sometimes, and I do that in Final Cut with a workaround. And you can do that in LumaFusion. You can lock tracks so they're not affected by the magnetic timeline. They have an enhanced magnetic timeline, they call it. And it is. It's more sophisticated than Final Cut Pro's magnetic timeline. Most of the time I like that. Sometimes I don't. Like if I want titles to say exactly at 1 minute and 2 minutes and 3 minutes and 4 minutes, doesn't work with Final Cut. You have to lock them in place with a little trick, which I do. But you can do that in DaVinci, in LumaFusion. You can lock individual tracks and still have a magnetic timeline underneath of those. Latest LumaFusion update is great adjustment layers, and it has 12 tracks of video and 12 tracks of audio. That's incredible. That is incredible. Adjustment layers. I didn't know about the adjustment layers. I haven't updated yet. But the other thing about LumaFusion is you can use it on your iPhone. And it's very effective. It's very, very effective. You wouldn't think it would be, but it is. Shoot on the phone, edit on the phone. Shoot on the phone, edit on the phone. I actually edit vertically a lot of times because I have a bigger viewer up here in LumaFusion. And the timeline's here and the tracks. Because when you go this way, the viewer's really small over here in this corner. And I like a bigger viewer sometimes. I'm not editing vertical video. I'm just editing vertically with my phone. But you shoot on the phone and you can edit on the phone with LumaFusion. So you don't got to export. You don't got to import. It's right here. Right here. So that's very, very cool. Very, very cool. Is there anything else going on with Final Cut? Looks a little windy. Not too bad right now. You can see the blue skies. You can see the blue skies. So I would be surprised if we have any Final Cut Pro update for the first part of March, but we could. But I would think more towards the end of March, beginning of April, right before NAB. So possibly. If not, then they brought out Final Cut for iPad in May, was it? And a new version of Final Cut for Mac in May. So between now and the end of June, the first half of the year, I think we're going to see a feature update for Final Cut with some features. What features are? I have no idea. No idea. I'm just looking at my, manual focus. That blurry background is natural from the lens. I have it on manual focus, and I'm focused on me, of course, so the background is automatically blurry. What is it? F something? I forget what it is. 2 point something, I think. It's on my GH5. I forget what it is, to be honest with you. All righty. Well, there's not much more to talk about. Final Cut Pro land. We'll be talking more about NAB and some other things over the next few weeks. Congratulate yourselves. If you've all been coming here for all the Saturdays. Year 3. We started year 3. We've been doing these every Saturday for 3 years. So I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here on Saturdays. We got over 60 people watching live now between the 3 platforms. A lot of people over there on X, YouTube, and I can't tell Facebook until I get off because they don't give me a live viewer count. They don't give me a live viewer count. At least in Ecamm Live, they don't. All right. So I don't expect anything to happen this week. Probably not. But we'll be back next Saturday if all things go as planned. Tomorrow is my documentary showing at the Greenbelt Theater in Greenbelt, Maryland. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 3 to 6 is the actual event. And then a band is playing across the plaza. The drummer from the subject of the documentary is playing across the plaza. Batch syncing audio from second source recording, please. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people request that. Batch syncing could be improved, absolutely. Good luck with your screening. Thank you very much. This is the third screening of this documentary. We're not sure what we're going to do after this screening. We might do one more, and we'll have to figure out if we're going to release it or put it online. It's a long one, and it's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of work. All right, everybody, I'm going to get out of here, and I don't expect anything to happen. Maybe Logic Pro update this week. Final Cut, I think it's too soon for any kind of an update. But it would be nice if the team could give us a feature update right before NAB, so there's a little bit of buzz at NAB. If not, we'll wait till later in April, May, June for a feature update. But give us something before NAB, before the Creative Summit next November. That would be nice. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. All these 2 years plus. This is the third year. And if I don't see you before then, I'll see you next Saturday. Thanks for tuning in.